Okay, you guys. So somehow it literally stopped my live. It literally stopped my live. I've never had that happen where it just stopped my live and ended it and just said edit in studio. Um, I don't know if God was telling me just to seal it up. That's why I just said okay, or it's just trying to hush me because sometimes that happens too, especially with the platform that we're using. So, um, yeah. So I literally when I say that I had in my dreams I would have so many battles, it's like I remember answering my call because it's like a calling when you're serving God, when you're answering and when I say serving God, I'm not saying just feeding the hungry or something like that. Serving God meaning that you are doing what God called you to do. Okay, you are accepting, his will for your life, and you are accepting the call and the duty that you were supposed to do on this earth, what your assignment was. So I remember making a vow to God. And when you make a vow, God honors that and he keeps it. Even when you feel like you can't, if you ask God to keep you and help you to do it, he will do it. I'm a living testament to this. Living, but I know that was in his plan anyway because he gives me the words to speak, so I know nothing good comes from me, and he gives me the information to give anyway. So yeah, but I remember making that vow, and it's like when you make that vow, and it's according to God's word and you come in agreement to it, God is going to make sure that it is fulfilled because he put what his word above his name. And if that's what he called you to do, no one in the whole galaxy, no one in this world or the world after can stop that. Once you come into alignment with his word and his purposes and his plans for your life, and you come in agreement by learning that word and just going by doing it. And you don't have to know it overnight. God will feed it to you. I promise you, he will. He will. Um, so I remember accepting my call and answering it and walking fully through with it. That's why I said it was really funny. Well, it wasn't funny. It was just confirmation, when my friend showed me that video about this gentleman, and his family going through that. Also, like I said, I'm going to wait until my mother gets out so she can tell her story because I know and I believe that God is going to allow her to tell her version and to tell her story because we're all connected. This whole thing that I'm doing is not just for show. It's not just for my family. It's for generations after when I'm out of, when I'm a memory, you know. People are going to look at this and they're going to see, okay, God was with her. How did she do this? She followed the principles of God. She leaned on God. And this is what I need to do in order to get it done. I need to do what she did, which was meaning turning and leaning to God. So not me, but him. Okay. Not glorify myself, none of that. But yeah, so I ended up having these visions, and I mean they were so vivid. My uncle was like, what you saw was way more than what I saw. And I was telling him about the angels and stuff, just like he was talking about how his grandson was able to see, things that were going on. And like my family was getting kind of nervous. Like, if you guys didn't see, I had a video about when I got my head busted open. I had 5 linear fractures, and why I was not discouraged, why I was not afraid, and why I knew that I was not going to die. Because God had shown me in a dream what happened. He didn't really show me how to. He told me a prayer, but I didn't really go into deep warfare about somebody taking me out because he sent other people to warn me, like these people are doing this, But when I went through it, it was it was a spiritual thing where I was about to be taken out, but I remember what God, allow me to know, like, if you're doing what I told you to do, no one or nothing can stop it. And what I was doing, I was doing missionary work. I was serving outside. It was warm because it was like in June, or it was in June 1st. first, yeah, June 1st. And so it was kind of warm. It was chilly, but it was still kind of warm. But I remember I was still serving, I was still videotaping, I was doing all this stuff, way before people even made this whole big thing, oh, I'm helping in this and that. Like, God see your heart. Just understand that. All that stuff that you're doing for show, nothing. Not even the stuff that I do that's not good. God, you can't play with God. You can't trick him. He knows the heart. So I saw how he took care of me and how he sent the angels to protect me. One of the things that I saw was that I saw this warring angel. Man, this angel looked like some kind of war angel. When that car went to go hit me, the angel told me to move. I keep telling people that, like, it was like, how did you even make it? Because my neighbor saw something fly all the way up. And I flew up so high. It was crazy. I remember how high I flew up so high. This was just like unimaginable. This, you would have thought that I was like lying if somebody else wouldn't have seen what I saw, saw me go through there and see me like get hit and fall, I went so high they thought I was a trash can when I got hit because I flew. But I remember that angel like told me to move and he took the hit. But I got hit a little bit, but it took the hit. But I flew up, and I remember, God was reminding me of exhaling before I hit the concrete. And yeah, so I know what he's saying is so real. Like, people want us to forget about that, but I never forget. Jesus, I'll never forget what you done for me. Period. How you set me free. Jesus, I'll never forget how you brought me out. I remember that song, y'all. I know that song now. Look, for real. Like, this stuff is real, but yeah, it just make me, man. And then I told my friends about this, like, it's got to be over 6-7 years. And I told them I saw that dream. And there's been plenty of people who see different aspects of things. Like, another thing that I saw this thing. It was dark. It was like this fog, and it was black. And like, soon as the people got in contact with it, everybody was peaceful and loving. But every time they got in contact with this black fog in the dream, it was so much chaos that went all over the place. Like, when I say all over the place, and people wasn't even seeing that. So I remember seeing those things, and things of that nature, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna also let you guys listen to the rest of what this guy saw and what somebody else saw, because some of the things that I don't even know what you guys are seeing, or if you see this at a later date. Like I said, it might give you some help and some relief, and not to think that you are going out of your mind or anything like that. Oh yeah, and another thing, how he was talking about how you see things, and how when he went into the next dimension, the things were so vivid, like the colors were different. They were like this orange. It was like, how you do how people like correct or auto tune their face, they make it look perfect. That's how, like, man, he was on point. Let me stop. Man. Let me see if you guys can look at this. Hopefully, let me try to skip.
Give my praise. Then through the mouth of I'm gonna call myself an old man, So I had just finished preaching, and I'm out in the foyer, and because I had just finished, people flocked around my table. Not that I'm such a great speaker, it's just I had just finished. So as I come out, I go to my table, had written a couple books, and there they are. Boom, they just piled in. My son's standing over to.
I'm sorry. He's talking. It was in his video, in his dream. I think we skipped it. He met this lady. It was a lady in the dream called Victoria. And in the dream, it was something about Peru. But he does like evangelism there. But listen.
just like at my book table, I don't sell books, but I'm there to talk to people, minister to people, pray with them, maybe sign them if they want their book signed. But my son he's handling all the money and the credit cards and everything and answering people's questions about the books. So that's going on at the table. Crowd of people right in the front are talking to me. Hey, can you sign this? And what's this book about? And, so we're having those conversations. And I'm looking over the crowd. I'm tall like you are, not as tall as you are, but I'm tall. And so I can see right over the crowd. And I see this young woman making her way through the back of the crowd, kind of snaking her way through, kind of sweetly pushing people aside, trying to get up front. And I'm thinking, bless her heart, she wants to come up here bad, but I'm thinking somebody's going to slap her because, everybody's trying to get to me. And she's just breaking ahead. And I'm thinking, there's always one in every crowd, right? And so I'm thinking that about her, bless her heart. And I see when she gets closer, she's crying, not boo-hooing yet, but just tears, and her eyes are swelled. And I said, oh, bless her heart. She's got some heart issues here. She's wanting to talk to the preacher, Well, she got almost down to the front line. She was standing a couple of rows back looking at me, just kind of looking at me like she wanted to engage me. And then I saw her just kind of get discouraged, and she turned and walked back through. And I'm thinking, oh, gosh, I wanted so bad to say, wait a minute, but I couldn't because I'm signing books and people were talking. But I'm watching all of this. And she goes out, and I watch her go out the foyer to the big front doors of the church, and she goes out. And I said, well, I'll never see her again. I said, Lord, I don't have a clue what that was about. And Brandon said something about, did you see that girl that left? I said, yeah, I saw it. I don't know what that was about. And he said, yeah, I don't either. So we're going on. Well, anyway, after a while, the crowd's thinning a little bit. But about 15 minutes later, I'm just still looking over the crowd, talking to people. The door's open. I'm seeing people come and go. I see her again. And she comes in. And she starts kind of making her way through the crowd again, but it's much less now, so it's a lot easier. And I'm thinking, all right, now this time I'm going to talk to her because obviously something's on her mind. She finally gets up. She comes and stands on the side of the table, and I'm signing my last book here. She's, Pastor, can I talk to you? And she's still got swollen eyes and tears. She's wiping tears off her cheek. I said, yes, ma'am. I said, what's your name? She said, my name's Veronica. And I said, well, what's on your heart? I took her hand and said, what's on your heart?
I'm sorry.
What's bothering you? And Brandon's still kind of clean.
I'm sorry. Her name was the guy. He had a dream about meeting somebody named Veronica. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay. Not Victoria. I knew it was one of them.
He's putting the money in. He's stacking the books up, but he's keeping his eye on old Pops over here, She says, while you were preaching, God spoke to me. And she says, God, I've never heard the voice of God before. And she says, I didn't hear it in my ears, but I heard it in here. And she said, he told me that I had to talk to you, that you had the answer for me, that you would know the answer to my question. Well, I had no clue where she was going, and so I wanted to be humble about it. I don't know everything, but if God told you, maybe I will know. And she says, it's about a dream I had, and God told me that you could interpret it. Now, remember, this has been years since I had the dream and taught my sons. I'm not even thinking about that. It's been years, 5 or 6, 7 years. And all I'm hearing is, I need you to interpret a dream. Well, I know that that's done, and I know God can give people that gift, and I know it's in the Bible. But I've never advertised or considered myself to be an interpreter of dreams. I don't even know my own dreams, most times. Now, the rapture dream is the one dream in my life. I understand that. But I've had other things where I've had to just say, I ate something bad tonight. That's all I can think. It seems like it might be spiritual, but I just can't figure that out. So I just forget about it. Well, she says, I want you to interpret this dream. God told me you can interpret it. And I'm thinking, all right, either she didn't hear from God, or God's getting ready to give me a gift to interpret this girl's dream. So I'm ready. I said, well, just tell me and I'll tell you. I said, now, I'm not going to try to pretend like I know something. If I don't have a clue, I will tell you. And I hope it doesn't hurt your feelings. But I said, I don't jerk people's chains on that. If I don't know what it is, she says, okay. She said, I was standing in a field. When she said those words, I didn't know where she was going to go. But my son grabbed my jacket and just kind of like, Dad, listen to this now. She says, and I was looking up in the sky. And I was looking at the stars. When she said that, I'm about to break down. And I'm looking at her, and and then she starts describing the whole scenario. I hear the people behind me. I hear children. She said, I wasn't allowed to look. And she said, then the stars started moving. Now, my son, Brandon, who's the father of my grandson, who knows all of that, he just says, he grabs my arm again. He says, "Oh my gosh, Dad." And Veronica stops and says, "Do you know what this is about?" And Brandon said something like, "He's had the same dream." And she goes, "What?" And I said, "Yes. Finish what you're saying." And she said, "Well, I'm almost finished." She says, "So the stars come and they fall out of the sky." And then she says, and she says, "And I just screamed and I got on the ground and covered my head in the star. And then I woke up." And she says, What was that?" She says, "It was so real. This happened to me months ago." And she said, "I told my husband, and we came to this conference." She said, "I would need an answer to this." She said, "It was so real. I can't get it out of my mind." And she says, "You're telling me you had the same dream?" I said, "Exactly, except my dream went further and I know what it is." And she goes, "Oh my gosh, God did speak to me. You know." I said, "Veronica, I know what the answer is to this dream." And I said, now this is 1,000 people in Minneapolis. I'm from Florida. And and she describes my dream and my grandson's dream. And I saw her come and go, and I asked her, I said, "Why'd you leave?" She said, "Well, I got scared. And then I couldn't get to you. And my husband and my children, she said, I've got little children, they're out in the car." She said, "I went out there and just bawled. And my husband said, 'You must go back in. You must talk to him. God told you to.'" So she said, "I finally got up the courage and came back." And she said, "I'm so glad." So she says, "What's the dream?" And I said, "It was the rapture." And I said, "Apparently, I need to talk to you about your relationship with the Lord, because apparently you were getting ready to miss it. Because you were," and she starts crying. She said, "I've just given my life to the Lord recently." And she says, "Yes, I agree." She says, and I need to come back to the Lord. She said, "I've been so far from the Lord." And she says, and that's all I can think is that God's trying to tell me something bad is getting ready to happen if I don't get right with him. And she said, "I feel like I need to be in ministry." She said, "I don't mean preaching or teaching." She said, "I just need to be investing my life somehow in the gospel ministry." And she says, and I said, "Well, let me tell you what happens after the stars fall." I said, "Those are not stars, those were angelic beings." And it was the rapture. And we do go up and we bust through dimensions and barriers like,
Period.
and I said, and then the next thing you know, you're in paradise. And she said, "Oh my gosh." And I said, "Let me tell you, I can't even describe to you what it smells like, what it looks like, what it sounds like." And she says, I knew it was probably had something to do with the rapture. And I said, "Well, yes." I said, "That's all I can tell you. That's all I know." But I said, "My grandson has had this exact same dream. I've had it. My wife, his grandmother, witnessed him telling it to her. Years went by. He tells it to me. I tell it to his mom and dad. We all go over it together, talk about it. And now more years have gone by. You come to me from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and you're standing here telling me the same dream and that God told you." I knew what it was. I said, "So this is not a coincidence. This is not bad pizza. This is God speaking." And then she said, "Well, I'm not really from Minneapolis." She says, "I come from Peru." And I said, "Peru?" This is what makes the story even more fantastic. I said, "Me and my church have been involved in Peru for 17 years at that point in huge mission work. And we've got a school for children that can't go to school, and we finance the whole thing. We go down there, we do crusades, we take clothing, and back then they really needed it. We're in a very poor area. Take clothing and medicine. We take medical missionaries. And so we're very attached to the people." I said, "I've watched little 3 and 4 year olds grow up into young men and women, and they graduate from our school. Some of them get scholarships to college. Families are saved. We get them in a church there." And I said, "So I'm very attached to Peru. This is amazing, Veronica." I said, "Where are you from?" She says, "Well, it's a place you probably never heard of. It's Comas, Lima, Peru." I said, "That's where our school is. Our school is in Comas." She said, "What?" I said, "It's called the Jack Goldfarb Christian School, named after a associate pastor of mine that's passed away, who was from Peru." And she says, "I just live a few blocks down the street from there. I know people that work there." I said, "This is getting freakier by the moment." So we had a conversation. We loved on each other and prayed. And I asked her, I said, "Can I tell this story?"
Yeah. So, with that, you guys saw how the power of God, not them, it was nothing special about them other than, yeah, he was a minister and, all that, but it was qualifications from God, and God used all different types of people to get the message out. He used his grandson. He used him. He used his grandson. He used a stranger that he didn't even know that he needed to open up and tell them what's going on so they can know that they're on the right track and they can be saved. So I think I'm gonna get off of here because I need to go and call my mom. I think I'm gonna videotape that too, in a couple of seconds. But I'm gonna end this one just because it was kind of lengthy, and then the last one was lengthy. I thought I was just gonna make an hour long spiel about this and talk about it in one sweep, but that did not happen, and that's okay. God has everything to happen for a reason. But I will say this: you don't, do what God tells you to do, because you don't know who you may help during this time. When his dream, just like my dream and everything else, there were people who were doing everyday things like you see now. There are people who are not even focused on God. They just thinking about the everyday hustle and bustle, how to get $1 million, how to do this. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with becoming wealthy in this lifetime or focusing on, no, but seek ye first the kingdom of God. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And in his righteousness, and all these other things will be added unto you, because this universe that we call, this thing that we see right now that we call earth, or we call it the world that we live in, it's definitely not going to be here, and we're not going to be here. Like, man, we're not going to be here. Eventually we're going to leave here. Some people are not. Some people, and that's okay if you want to be that, but I'm not staying with you, and I'm not about to sit here and hide what God has told me and has given me. So yeah, so when my friend sent that, it gave me more confirmation, and it gave me more power to get up and tell. Also, I forgot to say that too. There are other people who hear from God, and they're from different walks of life. And they really do need to hear the voice of God before they leave this earth. And you might be the person to tell them that, to turn from their evil ways. I think about that when I met this one lady who suffered from bipolar, and she literally had tormenting spirits on her. And when I was trying to tell people that, like, okay, this is what is going on, they were looking at me like, okay, this is weird. How do you know this? Like, that sounds weird. She has, bipolar, and these are the effects, and this and that. And I was telling them the same effects. Like, yes, these are the effects, but when God show you something, you know what it is. So, and you don't step away from it. Don't turn back to make other people feel comfortable. It's supposed to make them feel uncomfortable, because that's going to make them seek and find him and acknowledge him for who he is, who and what he is. The things that are a God, they look strange. They don't look like the normal, because he thinks higher than us. He's everything. He's got higher thoughts and way farther than technology. So, yeah, I'm going to get off of here because I need to get right back on, call my mom, and make sure that she is okay. So hopefully something I said or done will help you on your journey. Please stay tuned to Journey to Jerusalem. Bye.